Hello again. Today we're going to be covering Ryoshu's first VAW, and that is going to be Contempt Awe. Contempt Awe is a VAW level E.G.O. It has an attack rate of 1, a base of 10, a slash damage, and 2 coins. You're going to be gaining plus 7 for each of those coins, so that's a pretty decent roll. Before attack, you gain highest resistance attack weight to a maximum of 6, so you're going to be rolling a 7 attack weight at the best case scenario. That is good. That's good. Before attack, the highest resistance plus 1 Gaze of Contempt this turn and next turn to a maximum of 7. Now, you might be wondering, what does Gaze of Contempt do? You deal 7% more damage for every Gaze of Contempt you have on you. It expires at the end of the turn. You can only have 7, but if you gain more than 7, then that gets put on you next turn instead of just disappearing. But at the same time, gain 7 protection, gain 7 damage down. One of your slots gain plus 20 aggro, which means you're going to be attacked, so yikes. But still, pretty good. You can tank a little more, you can do a little more damage. Pretty good. But after attack, the skill is part of the Lust Resonance. Gain 1 E.G.O resource and affinities corresponding to each of this unit's skills. So, let's say you're using W Ryoshu. You have a skill 1 that's a Lust, a skill 2 that's Pride, and a skill 3 that's Envy. You're going to be gaining 1 resource that's Lust, 1 Envy, and 1 Pride. So, that's pretty good. Well, it's alright. After attack, for 2 turns, lose 10 SP at the end of each turn. So, that's a trend that's going on. We're not seeing the 40 cost anymore. We're seeing the cost of slowly losing your sanity, which is good. Honestly, that's better than just losing it up front, I would have to say. And finally, after attack, inflict 15 bleed between all targets. So, if you're fighting 3 targets, they're all getting 5 bleed. If you're fighting 1, they get 15 bleed. So, it really depends on how it is, but this could be very, very, very good for bleed teams, I have to say. Now, the passive of this E.G.O is actually pretty good. Mark of the Gaze. Whenever this unit uses a base attack skill, whether that be skill 1, skill 2, or skill 3, anything but E.G.O pretty much, gain 1 additional E.G.O resource for the random least owned affinity that doesn't correspond to the attack skill's affinity. So, let's say, going with W Ryoshu again, you use your skill 1, which is a Lust, and you have 0 Gluttony. You're gonna get some Gluttony. That's really good. That's phenomenal, right? Let's say you're doing a solo. You're pretty much fueling all of your E.G.Os with this, right? That is such a good passive. That's such a good passive. To use this E.G.O, you're going to have to cough up 20 sanity, right? But in actuality, you're going to be losing 10 for 2 other turns, so it's more like 40, but that's still. You're going to have to cough up 4 Lust, 4 Pride, and 3 Envy to use it, which is honestly not too expensive. I mean, it's a little expensive, but it's not that expensive. You're going to become ineffective to Wrath, fatal to Lust, and fatal to Gloom. Also become ineffective to Sloth, endured to Pride, and, well, no one to Envy. So, pretty good resistances, but that can go for any VAW, really. But upon crowing this E.G.O, you're going to have a 44 base when negative 20 roll, which is very good, slash damage and 1 attack weight. So, a very, very strong roll in the corrosion. But, before attack, gain 7 Gaze of Contempt. After attack, if this unit is part of a Lust Resonance, gain 1 E.G.O resources for the affinities corresponding to each of this unit's attack skills, same as before. On hit, if this unit has bleed, deal some of the bleed potency and count on the target percent more damage to a maximum of 60%, which can be so good, but that means you have to have bleed on yourself. So that's pretty situational, but if you get that situation, it's not bad at all. But on hit, inflict 10 plus highest resonance multiplied by 2.5 bleed, max 25 rounded down. That's can be crazy. Let's say you're inflicting, well, the base is 10 bleed, and you get a little bit of resonance, instantly gets you a decent amount of bleed. So pretty good. 25 bleed, if you get that, holy smokes. And you're getting 5 bleed count. Yeah, 25 bleed potency with 5 bleed count. That's pretty deadly, pretty deadly. Now, finally, to drip of this E.G.O, I gotta say, it is so good. The Awakening is, well, just really drippy, I gotta say. I like the gold, I like the long hair, the glasses are a really nice touch, and the corrosion just turns you into the E.G.O, and I'm such a big fan of that, when they just get turned into the abnormality. It's just, wow. So I gotta say, that's gonna be like a whopping, like, 9. Very, very good. So, strength this E.G.O, instantly gonna be up there because of WAW with a 2-coin skill with a decent roll, right? You get 17, and you get another 7, so that is just so good. And you gain yourself some more damage with the Gaze Attempt, you do some bleed. All of it is just saying it's a very, very strong E.G.O. So I'm gonna say give that like a 9 for strength. And usefulness, if you're gonna run a bleed team, which a lot of Ryoshus I find do a bleed. So I gotta say, you want more damage, you want bleed, you want, and the passive is really good. It's such a useful E.G.O, right, for certain scenarios for bleed teams, but just in general, it's just such a good E.G.O if you're gonna solo. So I'll give that a 9. If it was only for soloing, then I'd give it a 10, but it's a 9. And that's about it. A very, very solid E.G.O. I would recommend this for any bleed teams, which, if you're running a bleed team, you might as well already have a Ryoshu in there, so this just works out perfectly. But yeah, good E.G.O. Recommend it for any bleed team, and that's about it. Have a good one.